Well, good morning, everybody. And yeah, I know I said I wasn't going to do one today. In fact, I've already had my coffee. I was getting ready to go out and do my exercise, my walk. And while I was doing the pre flight, I'll let you fill in the blanks on that. I had a great notion because doing the, let's call it pre flight is where I have some of my best inspirations. And I was thinking, what the heck? Oh, wow, that angle makes my tummy look big. Well, my tummy is big, but let's just change that. My tummy's not big, my tummy is gigantor. So, uh, there we go. I was thinking about the, when we build models that are very, I would say complex, but I really mean more difficult to build. Classic example, ship models. I think most of us will agree that ship models have a ton of very tiny details on them, especially sailing vessels, of course, but also something like a Liberty ship. But there's a difference between a complex and a tough model and a hard model to build. Wow, my audience abandons me. Here's what I mean by that. The hardest kit I ever built was a Vincent Black Shadow motorcycle for a friend of mine. And it had a lot of teeny tiny parts, some of which were chrome. And the things that stick out in my mind the most were these little cross T-shaped air pressure valves on the tires and some little chrome fittings on the engine. Apparently the British designers used these things for, I actually don't, I've seen a Black Shadow, but I didn't look at it that close because I think I'd seen it before I built the kit. But apparently they have these little hand adjustable, or maybe they are screwdriver adjustable. They look like little T handles. And they're chrome and they're quite visible. So you can't just leave them off and go, oh, that's too tiny, I'm not going to mess with it. They're too distinct. You got this chrome piece against the black engine. But they are, I think it was a 1/16 scale motorcycle, and it was such a nightmare, even with tweezers and visors and everything. So that was hard. But I would say the most complex thing I've built are perhaps some of the ships, because ships just have so many, a battleship or something got so many tiny parts on it because they're such complex machines. But they're actually a little easier to build. When I did the USS Knox, which was my first resin kit, I wasn't using CA glue, and I made a huge mistake. I did wash it to get all the PMA, and I know a lot of people say on plastic kits these days you don't really need to wash them because the techniques have gotten so good, but trust me, on resin kits you definitely want to give them that. Take some, what everybody has their favorite degreaser. A lot of people like, I think I used Dawn. And I actually did a 4 or 5 part video of the build, which is down on my channel in kit models section. And the first mistake I made, which I show somewhere through the video, was that I wanted to pre-paint it because there was no way I could tape it off with all the railings and everything, all the brass fittings, because this thing had ceramic and it had brass. And all the ship's not hard to paint. It's definitely to tape all that stuff off is tough. Well, so Genius here decided to pre-paint everything to make life easier. But then, of course, you have all these pre-painted parts. You have to get a little naked area to get them to glue it, hold into place, to get the CA glue to bind. And it turned into a bit of a mess. And so I learned if I'm going to pre-paint it, I need to leave some areas nude or denuded of paint so that I can bond it and then go in with a brush and touch them up. But I found that to be the ship with so many small parts, and I didn't even do all the mast rigging and everything, but it had a lot of these brass fittings to make the aerials and antennas and everything out of, and the railings around the stack. And the Knox was a little easier because what made the Knox, which was originally a destroyer escort, it was in Navy service when they started, when the Navy renamed all the destroyer escorts frigates, and I think it had 3 engines or 3 boilers, but they all went through a single common stack, which was supposed to make the thing more, or at least a single common tower stack, which was supposed to make the ship, I think it might have been McNamara had something to do with the design, but they were trying to make the ship more efficient. I think it was a follow-on to the Garcia class. Anyway, things like the brass railing around the tower, this is going to be a very visible part. And so you really have to make sure you do a good job on it. And it was a challenge. And getting brass to adhere to brass and things like that. I looked at, obviously, a lot of source photos, and there were a lot of different ways to paint it. And I went with the simplest one. There was, at one point, the ship, everything up on the, above the half of the stack was just solid black railings and everything. So I just went with that. That way I could just, you know, mask it off in one spot and spray gun it. And it looked okay. And I made it for my brother's law partner who had served on the Knox. And he's thrilled. He loves it. The little helicopter was tricky just because it was small, but it was a Command Sea Sprite. But anyway, so that ships I find to be difficult because they're complex, but the motorcycle was hard. I mean, it was just, man, that thing was hard to get it. And it looked okay. I have one old cell phone snapshot from 15 years ago of it somewhere. But the end product I was very proud of. And there's a certain pride associated with that. But I find that there's a difficult between complex and hard. So I guess the question of the day is, what's the most complex kit you've ever built versus what is the hardest kit you've ever built or most difficult to build? And like the Stagecoach, it's one of the more complex kits, but it's not hard. The parts fit pretty well. And, you know, I had forgotten to mention, when I first got started in this thing, Andy had sent me a picture of the old Marx box, because it was originally Marx before it was Lindbergh, and the Stagecoach, and I had totally forgotten that. And he reminded me yesterday. I was like, oh, that's right, you know. But still, Marx put $100 grand into that mold back in the mid '50s, and that's that comes real close to $1 million today. Which reminded me of something else that just, oh yeah, I know I said that. I just wanted to say thanks again to Garfield for the Rommel's rod, and to Mark Huber for the Edward Mustang. You know, this Edward kit is the largest 1/48 scale box I've ever seen, and if it's anything like the Edward F2A3 Buffalo that I've got, but I've gotten started on, but keep getting derailed on, it's going to be incredible in the detail, and I definitely want to do it justice. These are going out to the stash today, because I didn't get out of the shed yesterday. Oh yeah, if I didn't mention, yeah, I know you guys have already wished me happy birthday. Yep, today's the big 59, my last birthday in the 50s, and I see 60 coming at me like a freight train, and I'm like, you know, the perils of Penelope tied to the track. But you know what? I'm not in denial. I just, every morning, well, I don't shave every morning, but when I do, I just look in the mirror and go, oh, it's time to go build models and play with my RC toys, and it's good to be 16. Hey, who's the old geezer in the mirror looking back at me? And since when did I get a gobbler? Oh well. Like the man said, you got to grow old. You ain't got to grow up. Well, guys, I got to go do my exercise, get my walk in. Don't know if I'll get around to doing one tonight because, you know, family coming and everything. I thought they were coming yesterday. It turns out it's tonight or tomorrow morning. It's whatever. Doesn't matter. I'll see if I can get something out tonight. Oh yeah, I do have. Actually, it's my birthday. I can do what I want. And my wife was like, "What do you want to do?" I'm like, I want to work on my videos and build models. You mean like every other day? That's how you know you're having a good life. One quick note before I go. A lot of folks had asked about it's a common thing. I mean, it's a curiosity we all have about the cost of making molds, mold making, and the production of models and all that stuff. Because we're into models, it's just something we're intrigued in. We all seem to have that interest. Well, one of the things that Andy'd sent me, and I guess it's not a secret, was one day he got a peek behind the curtain and actually saw what Aurora had paid for its molds back in the, I guess, in the 50s and 60s. Well, actually up through the 70s. And I'm going to put together just not a narrated video, but just a musical montage of the kit, the year it was adopted, how much they paid for it then, and what that mold is in today's dollars, what they paid in today's dollars for it. And I can hint, I'll drop you a hint on one of them, just to give you a little teaser. I believe it was 1971. They did the aircraft carrier Enterprise. They paid $71,620 for the mold, which converted to 2020 dollars was, I think it was 799% inflation. Just in case anybody's wondering, yes, we've had 800% inflation in the past 50 years. And today would cost, I believe it was $690,000. So anyway, shall do that at some point here in the near future. And you guys take care. Have a wonderful day. Happy birthday to me. Happy birthday to me. I'm so glad I'm building models. Happy birthday to me.